I feel like Shedeur got a little bit of a bad rap leading up to the draft.
Yeah.
But the reason he got the bad rap is because he got bad advice. He didn't have an agent. He had people telling him he didn't need to do team interviews and things like that. They were in his ear, gassing him up, telling him how he's going to be a top 5 pick, this, that, and the other, where no one in the NFL, there was no world in that league in which anyone had him graded as a top 5 pick. And he had representation, had he had better people around him, providing him with information, he would have known, hey, I need to go do as many of these interviews with teams and sit downs as I possibly can so that I can improve my draft stock, because he was basically graded out as a second round pick.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
He might have, had he played the game the correct way leading up into the draft, he might have been a late round first pick, but he would have been an early round second pick. But what the team said was, well, if this is going to be his approach to the draft process, and again, I'm not putting this all on Shedeur. I'm putting this on the supporting cast around him. And that's the approach to the draft process, where we're not recruiting you, we're interviewing you. You're interviewing for a job. Had he taken that approach, completely different.
For sure.
But teams looked at it and said, this is how it is now. What's it going to be like when we have him is the backup quarterback? Because right now, not a starter, right? The Browns have him number 4 on the depth chart right now. Okay. Yeah. There's a reason he's not gotten any first team reps. And this is my opinion. My opinion. I don't think it's necessarily all football related why he's gotten I think the Browns are deliberately slow rolling this thing because of his popularity, because everybody is all about Shedeur, right? And they want to make sure that they put this kid in the best possible position to succeed on the field.
Yeah. I want to be clear too. I think to this point, Shedeur has said and done just about all the right things. Like every time he's talked to the media, it's been like, I'm not out to prove people wrong. I'm just out to prove myself right. I'm embracing the opportunities I am getting. I'm just focused on football. You know, like he is blocking out a lot of the outside stuff. This is the first thing that's really sort of popped up on his radar that's like a concern. Now, you bring up like these other quarterbacks that had red flags. The biggest thing, my biggest response, I guess, to that is just, I think when you talk red flags, the red flags of somebody like Johnny Manziel were a lot more serious than the red flags right now with Shedeur Sanders, which are just 2 speeding tickets and not appearing in court for one, which you obviously don't know the background on.
But it starts somewhere.
Yes, you're right. I'm not saying that it can't be the start of something bad. And listen, the biggest reason this is like a stupid thing to happen to Shedeur Sanders is, at the end of the day, man, like he's a 5th round pick. And I know there's a contingent of people that are in Shedeur's camp that love him, and they get mad when you call him a 5th round pick. But the fact of the matter is, he is a 5th round pick. He was taken by a team in the 5th round of the draft. And so if you're a 5th round pick, those are players in general that are fighting for their lives anyway to make rosters. Now, in this situation, the Browns quarterback room is the island of misfit toys, as we know. So it's like he might not be fighting as hard as other 5th round picks to make this team. And I think he still probably is going to make this team as things stand right now, because Andrew Berry doesn't usually move on from his draft picks in year 1.
No.
But at the same time, understanding like what your situation is as a 5th round pick, don't give the Browns extra reasons to not want you to be part of this roster. And that's the biggest thing that I point to and say, like, okay, this is why this was a silly thing to happen, and it's stupid. And the fact that there's a second one on there, yeah, maybe signs of a trend that is a little bit alarming and raises some red flags. But listen, like, look how this organization has handled Mike Hall Jr., 2nd round pick from last year, who was their top pick overall because they didn't have a first rounder. Like, he gets involved in that domestic dispute. They were very mum on the entire thing. It was, we'll let the legal process play out. And then what do you know? He's out there after his suspension's over playing games. The Deshaun Watson thing is the big, like, I just have a problem standing on some moral high ground and being like, shame on Shedeur Sanders for speeding a couple times when I've gotten speeding tickets myself. But also when this is the organization that went and made a trade, 3 first-round picks, and invested so much of their future in a quarterback who was almost had a trial that almost went to federal court. Like, what are we talking about here? Like so to me, I think anybody who's outraged by this and is screaming like, red flags, this is a problem. I'm like, guys, at the end of the day, if it ends up being a problem, they cut him, and it costs them next to nothing because he's a 5th-round pick on a rookie deal. If it's not a problem, you have this polarizing player who might be a really good quarterback. I think he's going to be a really good quarterback. And frankly, like, those red flags are not anywhere near as severe as some of the other red flags that this organization has signed up for recently. So I'm not going to sit here and like kill the guy over it. That's just my stance on it.
Yeah, I'm not about throwing stones at the same glass house I've lived in as well, though I've never gone 101 miles per hour on the freeway.
Fair.
The other thing too is I don't know, maybe Myles Garrett, he wants to be a leader. Here's your opportunity.
Yeah. Similar situation.
But Myles got nailed multiple times crossing the 100-mile-per-hour mark. He flipped the Porsche.
Not even just flipped it. He like destroyed the Porsche.
Totaled the Porsche. Young lady got injured. He injured his shoulder. Like, Myles Garrett's a cautionary tale. You want to be a leader, Myles? Get Shedeur Sanders on the phone. Say, hey, here's some photos. This is what happened to me. Take your foot off the gas. You don't need to go 101 down the freeway. We've all done the 80 and the 60 before, okay? And sometimes a little faster than that, depending on who's around you, and you got to go with the flow of traffic or else you get run off the road. The freeways around here turn into the Autobahn at times. But, like, just be smart. Like, that's what it's about. Be smart. You already got dinged in Medina County, which we found out after the fact, after this, this ticket, came out. You'd already gotten pulled over for doing a 91, allegedly. And then now you get pulled over for doing 101 a couple of weeks later. Like, be smart about this. You're Shedeur Sanders. If you wipe your nose, fair
People
or not,
it's
news. Like,
you're right.
It is. And again, I'm not trying to justify any type of coverage that he gets or whatever. I'm just saying, like, be self-aware. And it's something, to your point about the effects on, them slow rolling him out or whatever. This is something I always tell young folks that are coming up in the business. Okay. And that is make yourself indispensable. Never give your employer a reason to get rid of you.
Yeah. No, it's well said. And so along the lines of this conversation, talking about the speeding tickets and whether it's a big deal, little deal, whatever, Shedeur actually spoke on the subject for the first time. This was last night at David Njoku's celebrity softball game, not in a press conference setting, just kind of BSing with some people along the sidelines of the field there. Here's what he had to say about the situation.
I know I'll be violent, bro.
He's just a regular kid. Like, what's wrong with him?
I'm just a little boy.
He didn't do nothing wrong. I haven't seen anything wrong.
He's talking about overall in life. I made some wrong choices personally, and I got owned up to him. I made some, not great choices.
He's saying that because he's an accountable person.
I learned
from the real people.
I learned.
That audio courtesy of Twitter account Gucci CU, I think it is. So he said he can own up to it. He's going to learn from them. And that, to me, is the biggest thing.
But
where does this go from here? Does he actually learn from it? Right now, it looks like he didn't learn from it because he got a speeding ticket a week before, and then he got another one a couple weeks later.
Here's the problem I have with that audio. I do have a problem with that audio. Because the guy next to him is like, it's not a big deal. Actually, a little bit of a big deal. To just completely act like that this is being blown out of proportion. No. When you're driving 100 miles an hour, again, if you're 5, 10, 15, I'm even going to give you the 20 over the limit. Because we all been there. It's not a big deal. You're 41 miles per hour over the speed limit.
That's excessive.
That's getting excessive. And also, that's life-threatening dangerous because you spin out, whatever, you can take someone else out or you can take yourself out. So, again, I'm not trying to make too much of a big deal. The speeding issue, mine is the level of the speed.
For sure.
That's where my issue comes in, the safety part of it. So to have someone around him, just completely blowing the thing off like it's, and again, this goes back to surrounding yourself with good people, giving you good advice, okay? And I'm here this is the one thing that I'll get into Shedeur Sanders on. Surround yourself with the right people. Don't surround yourself with sycophants that are just there to hang on and, enjoy the bag you're trying to grab, okay? Surround yourself with good people. You need to surround yourself with people who say, hey, Shedeur, what are you doing, bro? You have this opportunity. You fell to the 5th round. You thought you were going to be a top 5 pick in the draft. You know what the NFL thinks of you? They think you're a 5th round pick. They think you're immature. They think, to motivate him to prove everybody wrong, because there's no greater motivation than being able to tell someone, I told you so.
Sure.
You were wrong, rubbing it in their face.
Well, and that's why, to me, again, it comes down to what happens from here. Does he actually learn from it? Does he course correct this repetitive issue now that he's having? I think he will, but I guess that remains to be seen. And if it continues to be a problem, then it does become a bigger red flag for the organization. Again, this doesn't have to be the end of the world for Shedeur. It doesn't have to define him from a character standpoint. It doesn't have to define him from a football standpoint. Like, he can obviously still be a great player potentially for this Browns team and maybe become their franchise quarterback for all we know. From this, this doesn't have to be the end of the world. But there are people like Colin Cowherd who are just using it as like a reason why he's not ready to be the quarterback, which, by the way, that's what I'm getting at when I say I think that, no, the Browns didn't want this to happen, but they're going to use it to their advantage. We've already seen, Daryl, they are slow playing it as much as they can with Shedeur. They haven't given him first-team reps. He's the only quarterback who hasn't taken first-team reps. They are very much so saying, hey, he's our 4th-string quarterback right now. They don't want him to see the field week 1. Most likely, I mean, I think we've all come to an agreement that, if he earns the starting job, it would be a massive surprise if he was starting week 1 of the season. I don't really think they want either of these rookies starting week 1, but I definitely don't think they want Shedeur starting week 1 because they feel like he's still got work to do. And so as they sort of try to be patient with getting him on the field and making him a starter at some point, I think this is actually a situation where the Browns are, again, not happy that it happened, but I do think that they are going to take advantage of the situation that Shedeur finds himself in to say, hey, we just don't think he's ready yet. We got to give it more time. They won't deliberately say it's because of this situation, but it's another reason why they can sort of say and publicly show, hey, we're slow playing it with this guy. He needs to grow from a maturity standpoint. He needs to grow from a quarterback standpoint and a skill standpoint and learning the game and playing at the NFL level. There are things that he has to do before we trust that he's going to be our franchise quarterback. And so this is kind of a step backwards for Shedeur, where it's like, okay, you got to earn that trust back. And so I think because of that, the Browns are actually, they sort of benefit in a way from having this happen, because they can then sell everybody on, well, he's just not ready to be our starting quarterback yet. And that's what they ultimately want. For a guy who's as polarizing as he is as a 5th-round pick, this is another thing that they can sort of throw into the pile of, well, he's just not quite there, and we just aren't quite ready to trust him as our starting quarterback, so he's going to have to wait a little longer.
It's an opportunity for the Browns to pump the brakes.
Yeah, it's a good way to put it. 100%.